Hey guys, it's Sam. Today's video is likely going to be a little bit longer than others, so if you don't enjoy that kind of video, I am warning you now. You might want to get a snack, you might get a drink, but get ready to listen to some chatting. I had hoped that this would be a facing forward video, but I got sick yesterday and now I have splotches all over my face, so canceling that. And I figured if I didn't get this video done in some way that it wasn't going to happen, because it's been like on my radar for about 2 weeks now, so gotta get it done. Anyway, this video is really the result of something that my husband said to me the other day. And he is such a good sport about things, and whenever I'm having my planner crisis, he lets me like word vomit all of the stuff to him about what I'm struggling with or what's not working or why this isn't working when that used to work, and just all of the things. And he was patiently listening and then just looked at me and he was like, "What if you don't like planning anymore?" And I'm like, "What do you mean I don't like planning anymore?" And he was like, "Well, it seems to be causing you a lot more stress than it is not causing you stress. So maybe it's just not your thing anymore." And at first I was kind of appalled that he would say that, but it's not like he doesn't know me, and it's not like he doesn't observe how I interact with this hobby day in and day out. And he's obviously known me for a really long time. We've been together since high school, and that's coming up on 30 years that we've been together, 31 years that we've known each other, and 26 years that we'll be married next month. So he knows. He knows me. And he wasn't wrong about the fact that this whole planning situation has caused me a lot more stress lately than it should have. I thought about it a lot, and I realized that it definitely wasn't the planning that was causing me the stress. It was social media and a couple of other things that have been the issue. And sometimes you just need somebody else to kind of take you by the shoulders and be like, "Hey," which is not what he did. He didn't like shake it out of me, but just like that very simple statement that he made a huge difference for me. So this is my opinion about, and maybe taking the title of how social media killed the planning community is maybe a bit of a stretch, but stay with me. I promise there really is like a point to that. And I think that you'll see what I mean as I get going here. I'm probably going to have a couple of thoughts and feelings that not everybody is going to agree with. And so I would just ask that you disagree with me, or you hate my guts or whatever, that you either say nothing or say whatever negativity that you have to say with as much kindness as you can muster, because I am a real person with real feelings. And if you're really mean or nasty in comments, I will delete your comment, because my mental health is more important than you attacking somebody on the internet. That's not generally how it goes, but every once and again I get some of that, so don't be that person. It's not going to get you anywhere. Anyway, I'm going to give you my 4 reasons why I feel that social media has killed the planner community. And by planner community, I mean, if you have been the person who has always liked paper, pens, stationery, notebooks, back to school sections, little planners that you can get from free, planners that you've purchased your whole life before the planner community became a big whatever on social media, you are part of the planner community. So it's not just saying people who follow the planner community hashtag on Instagram or whatever. If you enjoy paper and pens and planning and that sort of thing, in whatever way you have made it work your whole life, you are part of the planner community. You just didn't know about it until you found it on social media. So the first way I don't think that social media has been kind to the planner community, and you might really disagree with this one, but the first one is going to be too many options. And I have talked about this on my channel for a really long time now. It comes up pretty frequently as I'm having like my planner freak out moments. And I'm going to give you like a really easy one. And I know that there's going to be a lot of people who disagree with this, but just look at this, guys. Okay, so this is a daily pocket Moleskine in a soft cover. Okay, these are going to all be 2023. This is a daily pocket Moleskine in a hardcover. This is a new edition that I haven't done anything with yet. This is the monthly Pocket Moleskine in soft cover. I have, oh gosh, I have the Alice in Wonderland one somewhere around here. I don't even know where it is right now, that I've done absolutely nothing with. I have a weekly Pocket Moleskine here. So like I have all of these Moleskines and then one not even pictured. And those are just options for one particular brand. And even if you just take the pockets, you're still going to have a crap ton of options. And so it's really difficult to know like what's the right one, right? There's so many options. And I think that options can be very good, because obviously if there was only one kind of planner, that's not going to work for everybody. But now there's so many options. And I will just give this one example, okay? And I'm not picking on anybody, I promise. But the Hobonichi Weeks has been around for a while now. And I have used the Hobonichi Weeks, sometimes with more success than other times, but I have used this one for years and years now. Years, right? This year, there have been so many dupes introduced, one seeming better or worse than the other, but all of them centered around this first idea of a Hobonichi Weeks. Now, there are things that I do not like about the Hobonichi Weeks, and that's why we're kind of on an off again period right now. But there are now like how many alternatives that are just like this, but different in just little ways, okay? That gives you, in my opinion, way too many options, because how do you know which one is right? You know, if there was just one Hobonichi Weeks, then you'd be like, I like the Hobonichi Weeks, I don't like the Hobonichi Weeks, and you can choose to buy it or not. But with all of the different options out there, then you might have option overload and end up buying all 5 of the things. Let's just say there are 5 options out there, and you buy all 5 to figure out which one is good enough. When that kind of thing happens to me, I end up getting all 5 options, and then I'm like, oh, well, I like this about this one, I don't like this about this one, I like this about this one, I like this about this one. I have all 5 on the table, and I still don't have the perfect planner. So you've spent all this money, and you have all of these options, and you have choice overload, and you kind of have a meltdown, or at least that's what has happened with me, and you still feel like you haven't gotten anywhere. So I have all of these Moleskines, and I'm like, okay, well, I really like this Pocket Weekly, but their monthly pages are really, really small, and that makes it really difficult for me to write in. And then also there's not a lot of note pages in the back, and I really need note pages, and so I need to have a secondary notebook or what, you know? So like this is a really good planning system for me, but on its own, is it perfect? No. And then I move, okay, well then we can do the daily planner, because look at all of this space, but I really need a weekly view, and then it still has the tiny months, so that's not perfect. And then I'm like, okay, well I have this one, and this one's really nice, and this has got bigger pages, and it makes it easier to plan things in or memory keep. But even though it still just has the month on one page, the boxes are bigger, so that's nice, but it still doesn't have those pages in the back to add extra notes. So you still have to carry something else around. And then I got the monthly, because I think that this would be great to just always have in my bag, because it has the month on 2 pages. It has the note pages to write on. And if I was just making sure that I had a nice little planner to go with me everywhere so that I didn't miss out on appointments when I don't want to carry my larger planners around, this would be good to just always have. But then it couldn't be my only planner, because I still don't have you see where I'm going here? So you can still buy like 5 or 6 things and still not have the perfect planner. And so all of these options are paralyzing. They are paralyzing. I'm still not saying we should only have one planner or one kind of planner out there, because everybody has their own needs. But when you take an idea and you just multiply it and multiply it and multiply it, you have too many options. It makes it almost impossible to choose. So, too many options. And that has been a detriment, in my opinion, to the planner community as a whole. The next thing is a huge one to me, and that is the comparison trap. So when I went my whole life using random note pages, spiral notebooks, those little free calendars that you get from the Hallmark shop that my grandma always gave me. Did they work for me? Absolutely, yes, they did. But do you know what I discovered when I got to the planner community? Thanks to Instagram and YouTube, I realized that that planning system wasn't good enough anymore. And I was like, oh, okay, so there are other things out there. Now, I do know that like ring planners specifically have been around for ages and ages. And that it's a beautiful system, and we'll talk more about that in a minute. But I was like, I'm not really a planner because I don't have a real planner. I just have my planner from Walmart. That's not good enough. And I was like, to be a real planner and have something to share in the space, I need to spend money and buy all the things. And at the time, when I found the planner community specifically, we were living on one income. We have 6 children. I didn't have the money to be doing that. And I felt the pressure to do so that I could feel part of this group. But I was already part of the group from the beginning because I was planning, and that's all you need. It doesn't matter what you're using or how you're using it. Get out your just ruled notebook and write down a to-do list every day. You're still part of the planner community. But I didn't feel that way because of what I was seeing on social media. And it's not to say that everybody feels that way, but that's how I was made to feel, or that's how I allowed myself to feel. So you have the comparison trap of, I'm not using the right system. I'm not using what's popular. My handwriting isn't good enough. I'm not artsy enough in my planner. And I know people who will not share on social media because of those things. I am a very functional planner, and I do what is just natural to me. I am not naturally artistic when it comes to using my hands. Can I decorate my house? Can I appreciate beautiful things? Do I love arts and all of that stuff? Yes. But I am the person who sees a thing and I'm like, oh, I'd like to do that. And then it's like the Pinterest nailed it, you know, like it never, what is in my head, it does not easily come out with my hands. And that is in all facets and planning too. So this might look really boring to you, but it has the information that I need to keep up with and want to keep up with all together. A lot of people have told me that they won't share on social media because their handwriting isn't neat enough. And I'm like, no, I appreciate somebody who's going to write in 13 different pens and all of that. This is what I need to do for my own mental health. I struggle with anxiety and PTSD and, a lot of things. And for me, this is something that I can control. I can control these little boxes in my planner. That helps keep my anxiety in check. The next person beside of me might be the person who that doesn't make any kind of difference to her. And that big sticker with a flower on it means what my writing means to me. And both things, as long as they're working for that person, that's all that matters. But there are so many people who feel like they can't contribute to the planner community because they are comparing themselves to others. And I just think that that's really sad. Now, to be fair, there are usually 2 camps when it comes to the planner community. You have the creator or you have the consumer. And sometimes those things cross over, but I do know that there are some people who they create a social media account, but they only watch or comment on something that someone else has created, but they do not feel like they want to share. Not everybody wants to share on social media even, but I do know that people sometimes do not share because they feel like what they're using isn't good enough. I can remember when I first found Filofax and I decided that ring planners were going to be something that really fit my planning needs and just how my brain itself works. And I was like, oh, that brand's not good enough. All the popular people use Agilio and I couldn't afford that. And I was like, well, I guess I'll just have to not do what's popular, you know, and it just was kind of like, that was never necessary, but the environment of social media makes it seem as if you haven't gotten there until you. So the comparison trap. What brand you're using, what kind of planner you're using. Like, it stresses me out. You don't know how many times I've gotten oh, wish you were still using a Hobonichi, wish you were still using a this. And I use what is authentically useful for me at the time. And when that stops being useful for me, it doesn't matter. If I have, and maybe this is something that people don't like, but let's say that I have put my whole planner journey community, built a following around a Pocket Moleskine. If I stop using a Pocket Moleskine because it's no longer working for me, but I keep posting it to social media because that's what people like, that's not authentic. That's just showing people what they want to see, and that's not who I am. Love me or hate me, I'm going to be real, or as real as you can be on social media. Let me say that, because I'm showing you my planners, but I'm not showing you my messy desk that is the, result of all the chaos that I am going through right now with trying to figure out my stupid planner journey. But using something because it's popular is not authentic, in my opinion. So when I switch from rings to a Hobonichi or back and forth or whatever, I'm showing you what I'm using today. Sometimes I just want to take this out, and that's because authentically that's what I want to use today. It's not to get likes or whatever. It's because that's the truth of the matter. I want to use this stupid planner today. So it's not helpful if I say this is what's really, really working for me, and somebody pops in and says, yeah, but what about this? Like, offended, like, well, that's my decision to make. So it makes it really difficult, because especially when you are sharing in a public forum, it's not about just you anymore, and people can say and do whatever they want, but you definitely open yourself up to criticism. I see this a couple of different ways. Somebody who always uses the same system, that's really attractive to me, and I'm like, oh, I'd like to be able to find the whatever it is that's going to make me use it for 3 years. Hi, Gibby. But in the same vein, I feel like being honest with my planning journey means that if I'm a huge mess right now, that I should be able to share it. But then you have people say, why can't you get your life together? And so you can't make people happy. That's just a thing. So I try to focus not on making other people happy, but making myself happy. But sometimes it's difficult. It really is. When I know that if I post a picture of this planner and I'm going to get half or less of the likes or views on it than if I'm posting a Hobonichi Weeks, there is a part of me that gets bummed out about that. Is it going to make me change my mind? No. But does it make me sad? Yes. And that's a social media problem. The next thing is the discontentment. And that comes from seeing that the grass is always greener on the other side. And I briefly, mentioned it just now. I follow all kinds of hashtags on social media, which might be a problem for me. And maybe that is part of the issue. But I like to see planners of all types. I'm not going to stop following you if you're using one system when I start following you and then you start using another system. I think it's great. And I like to see what works for people and what doesn't work for people and all that jazz. But when I'm scrolling through social media and I see this beautifully crafted photo of somebody holding a beautiful planner or a beautifully written on page or a scratched out to-do list that is authentic looking, and I'm like, oh, that looks great. I wonder if this is the kind of planner this person always uses. So I'll click on the account and then I'll look through the pictures. And if I see that you've been using that planner for like 2 years consistently and it just seems to be ticking off all your boxes, I think, could this be the one? Maybe I could use this planner for the next 2 years. The grass is greener over there with blank planner. And the truth of the matter is that planner might be the holy grail for that person. But again, we're not usually showing our ugly side. We've got our best face forward. And even if that person is struggling with that system, maybe they're still taking that picture to get themselves through that day, and they didn't show you that they had to rewrite that page 15 times, or that they sat there for a half an hour looking at a blank page and finally, just wrote everything out because they wanted to share something rather than not share something. Or maybe they didn't tell you that that's not really the planning system that they wanted to use this year, but they didn't have any funds to do the thing that they really wanted to do, so they're just making do with what they have. We're putting our best faces forward for the most part on social media, and just because it looks like true love in somebody else's feed doesn't mean A, that it actually is, and B, it doesn't mean that that's going to work for us. Going back to too many options as well. And the last one that I feel like is a negative for the planning community that has been killed by social media. And I will say that this is probably going to be the more controversial of them. And it's been a recent thing, in my opinion. Like with the addition of like TikTok and Reels and all of these things. And that is the negativity. I used to think that the planner community was the most accepting, loving, sharing, giving community that I had found since finding social media groups on the internet. That's going to date me a little bit probably, but I didn't grow up in a time where you had these things, but they're that way now. And I was just always like, the planner community is such a positive place. And for the most part, it still is. But some negativity has started to creep in, and it's just really been bothering me lately. And I'm only going to give a couple of examples because I don't want this video to get too long, but I just kind of want to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. So this is going to be just a couple of examples. I have recently seen the trend of mocking other planning systems, preferences in Reels. And I just think that there's no place for it in the planning community. And I'll give you the first example, and that is the one that I think that it bothers me because I feel like there's like also no place to like stand up and be like, no, you're wrong. Or if you stood up and said, no, you're wrong, then you're going to have like all of the followers come at you, and then you're going to be the bad guy or whatever. Not being a real planner or a real part of the planner community, like real, like Pinocchio, not being a real planner, if your monthly calendar starts on a Sunday, what in the world is going on, guys? Like, really? Okay. Most of the planners that I have these days are not from the United States. And they all have Monday starts in the monthlies. One of the things that I love so much about Rings is that I can make a planner exactly what I want it to be every single page. If I don't love it, it doesn't have to be there. If I love it, it's there. If I stop loving it, it doesn't have to be there. I, with most shops, can choose weekly view, monthly view, what day do you want it to start. I grew up in the 80s. We had a monthly calendar at school. We had a monthly calendar on the back of our kitchen door, and that monthly calendar always started on a Sunday. I realize that it's not that way everywhere in the world, but that's the way it was in my world. And there was nothing wrong with that world. Well, there was a lot wrong with that world, but the planner or the calendar wasn't what it was. So that's how my brain works. That's how my brain functions. When I envision a calendar in my head, it starts on a Sunday. It's the beginning of my work week. It's the beginning of my religious week. Sunday is the first day of the week. We go to church on Sunday, and that's just the way it is. So if I have a choice about it, I'm going to choose Sunday to start my month. Is that good for stickers at the end of a week? Joining a weekend together? No, it's not. But that's not what is important in my life. What's important in my life is making sure that I am where I am supposed to be at what time I said I was going to be there. And honestly, even though I can make these work, I can't begin to tell you how many times I have put something down in a calendar that starts on a Monday in the monthly on the wrong day. How many times I have not made it to an appointment because I wrote the appointment down wrong because the month started on a Monday. I am a real planner, and I feel like I have things to share with the planner community and useful, helpful in some ways, hopefully, things to share with you guys. And the fact that somebody stands up and says that I'm not a real planner or that my planning isn't good enough because the monthly view in my planner has a Sunday start is outrageous to me. That's absolutely ridiculous. It's not. It's not. It's not cool. It's not cool. So, of course, you see people saying that you're not really a planner because your planner has a Sunday start, and if you're not bullheaded like I am, you're going to be like, oh, I'm not a real planner, so I'm going to go choose my monthly calendar to reflect a Monday start. But it's not a thing. It's not real. If that's the way the rest of the world works and that's what makes sense for your brain, then please, by all means, use a Monday start. But if what you want to use is a Sunday start, it doesn't matter. You're not a planner fraud. I promise it. I promise. You're just as good as the next person using a Monday start. The other thing, and I get so irritated about this, I'm using a Ring planner right now. I have all of these beautiful bound book planners, which all I love, especially for the memories. But my anxiety says, Sam's anxiety says that Ring planners are where it is at. And that's not how I always feel. If you go back through my planner journey, you'll see that I go in and I go out. I go in and I go out. Right now, what's working best for me is Rings. And that is because you can do anything you want to in this book. I like to have a monthly, I've got a monthly. I like to have a weekly, I have a weekly. I've recently decided that dailies aren't so bad, but I can't have them without the weekly or the monthly. And so I can pop these in here too. I like to have lists. I like to have information about like what color of paint's on my wall, how big my sofa is, what's the size rug I just bought, those kinds of things. And instead of copying that information year to year to year to year into a bound book, I just have a piece of paper in my planner with that information. And if it's no longer relevant, I tear it out. But if 2022 turns into 2023 and I still have that paint color and size rug on the floor, I just leave it there. I just leave it alone. You don't have to redo information. And there is really, honestly, there are so many planners that I love, but none of them are perfect for me. So I can take the best of everything and put it into this planner. And I think that that's beautiful. It's just how I approached our homeschooling journey. We used Eclectic because there wasn't one brand. I had friends who would buy one box of curriculum and it was their math and it was their English and it was their social studies and their history and all of this in one box. But I would look at those and I'd be like, well, their history is really good, but I really don't like that math. So I just always said, I'm going to find the best math. I'm going to find the best reading. I'm going to find the best this. And I just did what I wanted. And that's how I see Rings in the planner community. But what I see out there in the planner community on social media right now is that Rings are dated, Rings aren't cool, Rings aren't where it's at, bound book, bound book, bound book. And that's just not true. It's whatever you want to use. If you love to use a bound book, please have at it. But it doesn't mean that Rings aren't a good planning system just because you don't see as much of it in your feed. If it's working, it's working. And it doesn't matter who likes it, it's still useful and you should use it. There's all of the, do you use a fountain pen? What kind of GSM paper? Blah, blah, blah. And it doesn't matter. Because if we're focused on the brand of pen, the kind of ink, and the kind of paper, then we're wasting time doing the things that we're supposed to be doing, which is the point of having a planner to begin with. And I never had that in my whole life. I loved gel pens from the time that I found them when they first started coming out. I've always been a huge stationery dork. So when I found gel pens, I was like, these are really cool and everything. And that had always been the case. And then Hobonichi entered my life, and I realized that I couldn't use any of the pens that I loved in here. And that really irritated me. And I fought it for so long. And even though I have found a couple of pens now that work really well with this paper, it's still not my true happy place, because I feel like I have to make concession for what I want to use because of the paper. And I'm not saying that this isn't great paper, but it's not really good if you're a gel pen fan. And so I had to like adapt. And even when I adapted and found the mix, it still wasn't what I wanted. And I'm tired of like stuffing myself into that little box, you know? I want to be able to use whatever pen I want to use, and I don't want to have to worry about having a particular paper or having a blotter or having this or having that or waiting 10 seconds to close the book. Like, it's dumb, you know, like it's dumb. I have a lot of different mix of paper in here now. I have Moterm paper. I have Filofax brand paper. I have paper from Walmart that's like 27 pounds. I have a couple of pages in here that I don't want to have my planner be super bulky, and I just printed stuff on regular printer paper. I know, gasp, heard around the planner community world. It doesn't matter. It doesn't make you more or less of a planner. It really doesn't. And I just want to like cement this into everybody's heads. All planners gravitate to stationery, no matter if you were on social media or not. You just didn't know about each other until social media became a thing. So if you're planning in a monthly planner, if you're planning in a ruled notebook, if you're planning in rings, if you've got your planner that you've picked up every year at Walmart. My husband found this planner at Walmart a couple of years ago, and he absolutely adored it. It cost like $2. Was it useful for him? Absolutely, if he could find it, because he loses things all of the time. But the point of a planner is to know where you're supposed to be, with who, what time, writing out lists of things so that you keep your life in order. Does that become a memory? If you choose it to be, yes. But please don't care so much about what people on the internet think about you that focus that's most important becomes secondary or even lost. I know that for me right now, what's going to be the most effective in my planning life is rings. And I know that when I share those photos on Instagram or when I share those videos here on YouTube, that I'm going to get less views, I'm going to get less likes, and I'm going to get less interaction. But I also know that that's what I need for my life to be organized, my mental health, and I know that I'm going to be so much less focused on what I'm doing with my planning. I'm going to be saving money. I'm going to be saving time. I'm going to have more time to give back to my family. I'll be able to make that stupid shopping list because I know what I'm going to be writing in. I know what my system is, and that's the most important thing. And social media did not help me at all with this journey. It helped me discover that there were other people out there like me, but it confused me otherwise. And maybe not anybody else has that problem. Maybe less people are going to have a connection with this video than I hoped. I hope that for your sake, you don't have a connection with that and that none of these things affect you. But I feel like I've had enough people send me messages and text between friends and stuff to know that it isn't just me. I'm not the only one suffering with this. And that I hope you'll push what others think aside and just find and do what's best for you. What do you guys think? I'd really like to know in the comments below. Remember, please be kind. If you've not struggled with these things, I'm glad. I'm so glad for you. If you have struggled with these things, I'd love to chat about it in the comments below. Please remember to be kind. I hope that you liked this video. I hope it was useful to you in some way. And if it was, please give it a thumbs up. If you hate me, don't worry about it. Give me a thumbs down. A view is a view, right? If you'd like to see more videos like this or follow along on my planning journey, please consider subscribing. Thank you so much for watching and being here with me. I hope to see you again soon. Bye, guys.